One perception over my years of study is that we're often too obsessed with learning what instead of how to learn. I wouldn't call myself a star student, of course, but I do want to share with you some of my experiences, thoughts maybe. This video will be divided into two parts. First is common misconceptions, and second is study tips. Quality is way more important than quantity. I guess we all agree with that, right? Just want to make sure we're on the same page. The first noticeable mistake is that people are too obsessed with tools instead of learning itself. Let me ask you, say you want to learn something new, like playing the guitar or picking up a new language. What is the first thing you will do? Well, I guess you will probably go online and search for some relevant information like what it is about, what resources are recommended, what textbooks and tools are needed. It makes perfect sense that we spend a decent amount of time figuring out the meta-learning behind what we're actually going to learn before we do anything else. In fact, it's a great way to start from scratch. Problem is, you are constantly asking for more. You convince yourself, as long as I have everything on hand, I can pick up anything in the shortest time. Learning how to learn is of paramount importance because even if you don't have to sit any more exams, even if eventually you will forget about all the details you've memorized, the learning mechanism you acquire will be your lifelong fortune that can come into play anytime. So you see, the flow is you're always preparing to learn, but you just never started. Ultimately, all those resources are gathering dust somewhere. My suggestion is, if you want to learn something new, firstly, do some research. What are the most basic, minimal tools you need? Once you have them, start right off the bat. Don't wait until you have the full set. In fact, is the full set really a thing? The available resources are enormous and they are updating all the time, and there's no way you can got them all. Take me as an example. There was a time that I don't know, somehow I just developed interest in brush lettering. The first thing I do is to search online, see what tools are needed. And then I saw those amazing pieces of work. I was so dying to create my own. You know, there are all kinds of tools like Tombow dual brush pens, water brush pens, Hit artist pen, you name it. Can you guess what's the next thing I do? I didn't stop practicing. Instead, I was comparing those tools across different brands, the texture, the color, the price, etc. In the end, I spent so much time picking and purchasing, thinking that, oh, if I have the best tools that are exactly the same as those artists, I can basically replicate their work. But I didn't even practice writing a letter. That's ironic, you know? And when the tools finally arrived, I just wrote a few letters and then my passion kind of faded away. Let's rewind back. What are the most basic tools you need to learn brush lettering? A pen and a piece of paper. Just as simple as it is, so why wait? Why spend so much time doing something trivial? Once you master the techniques of writing downstrokes, upstrokes, and curved strokes, etc., you can do well using any tools. Tools are important. That's true, we can't deny it. But don't lose your focus. Don't be too obsessed with owning the best equipment. Just put in effort, devote your time and energy practicing. Day after day, you will get there. Number 2, don't let self-satisfaction manipulate you. I know how good it feels when you are doing something that can make you a better person. When you study for 8 hours straight, when you take pages of notes, you are so impressed by yourself, how hardworking I am. But are you really as diligent as you think you are? Well, hard to say. On the surface, you are really devoting your time and energy into it, and if I say you are just pretending, that doesn't make sense at all. Well, but you have to reflect on yourself. Is that a solid 8-hour study? Are you super efficient and focused? If indeed you are fully immersed in your work or study, are you really making progress? If you're just doing something trivial, redundant, repeated, and meaningless work, that basically equals nothing. The only function is that it brings you a sense of success. It persuades you that you are improving, you're becoming a better person, but sometimes it's not true. When I was a senior in high school, I bought all sorts of reference books, and I was so frantically and blindly doing all those exercises. I was really studying hard, okay? I spent hours and hours doing those calculations. Seems like I was working my ass off, right? But the problem is I never checked my mistakes, because I never checked the answers to see where I got wrong. But honestly, reflecting on why you got wrong and summarizing all the tips are the most essential steps. That can be really difficult and exhausting, but trust me, they are extremely useful. So deep down, I was just being lazy. In some sense, I was pretending that I was working hard. But without even realizing it, I was so complacent about what I've done. The truth is, I was just being lazy and trying to get myself something much more easier, but basically useless stuff to make myself feel better. I was sacrificing the real progress for my pitiful self-satisfaction. I know some of these study methods feel intuitively productive, but they are really not that effective or useful in improving knowledge retention. But that's a trap we will all fallen into at some point. This is just one flash and black example happens to me, and just a heads up, you are experiencing similar situations. Be wary of that. Don't ever let satisfaction manipulate you. The first tip I'm going to share is called the 5-minute rule, which I learned quite recently and found it super useful in my real life. The 5-minute rule basically says if you want to do something but you find it difficult to start, just work on the thing for 5 minutes, and after that you are allowed to stop. You don't have to continue if you don't want to, but more often than not, I found if I ever started doing something, I do actually want to continue. The problem is just getting started. Like today, I really don't feel like working out. Then I tell myself, alright, you know what, just do it for 5 minutes. And after that, you're done, you're finished. And then I will be like, okay, just 5 minutes, I can do it. And then I change my outfit, I take out my yoga mat, and after 5 minutes, I think maybe I can do it longer since I've already changed. Let's just finish this. And bang, you got it. Number 2, don't overestimate your willpower. Willpower. Honestly, I'm not sure if that is a thing that really exists. I don't trust my willpower at all. I think it is so fragile that may crash anytime, especially we are living in a world that full of temptations. My advice is put away all the stuff that can distract you from your work. Chuck your phone away when you are studying. Please never stock stacks when you are on a diet. If you are doing that, oh boy, you're really giving yourself a hard time. You have no idea how the environment can shape your behavior. Number 3, test yourself. Feedback is important. It tells you how you are doing. You need feedback to constantly adjust your learning process. There's one idea called active recall or retrieval practice. It says that we don't learn by putting stuff into our brains. We actually learn counterintuitively by taking stuff out of our brains. For example, you don't just copy and memorize new vocabularies all the time. You have to test yourself, no matter orally reciting or dictating, to see whether or not you really master them. Because just watching those new vocabularies and copying again and again doesn't mean you can remember that. Only if you can recall accurately without external references can you say that they're now really yours. Another good way of testing yourself is by teaching others. This method has a more popular name called Feynman techniques. I'm sure you've all heard of it before, so I won't go in much detail. The basic idea is to imagine you are teaching the material to someone who has absolutely no idea about this topic, like a young child, to see if you can explain those essential ideas using the most simple words. I've used it, absolutely impressive. You gotta try it too. Okay, too much content already. I try to be as concise as possible, but actually there are still quite a lot of stuff I didn't mention because of the time limit, but I would like to dive deeper, and if you are interested, please let me know. We can discuss it next time, especially the study tips. Alright, so hope you find this video useful, and thanks for making to the end. Love you guys. Bye bye.